This shouldn't be much of a surprise to you. We've been talking about here on this show for a long time. Apple and Samsung earnings show most people don't want $1,000 phones. Well, that ain't news to me because, like I said, I've been talking about it. Now, it is news in the sense that we have even more evidence piling up that this is the case, talking about actual revenue figures, which, I mean, those are tough to dispute. You look at the numbers.
Yep.
You know what they say about numbers, Will?
They don't lie.
Really do! No delay. No delay on that one. Could have gone either way.
Yeah. Could have been disaster.
Could have gone either way.
Yep.
Could have been big time, could have been small time. Mm-hmm. You went big time today. And I don't know, I feel like the people feel you deserve a round of applause. Oh. Yeah!
Thank you, Kurt.
If he ever deserved it, it's right now, ladies and gentlemen. Because he's just, he doesn't prepare for this. That's off the top right there. Yeah. That's Willie Do off the top. Anyhow, so we got the numbers out. Apple, they missed the estimates. And the estimates from Wall Street and so on about the revenue figures were that they expected a dip, but the dip was even more than they had predicted. So their sales, Q3 2019, down 12% versus the same quarter the year before on iPhone, even having the budget iPhone in the lineup, just clocking the billions, just a straight revenue figure. They don't break out unit sales independently. So you got to look at the big picture to figure out your analysis. But nonetheless, the figure down 12% over the same period last year. Now, Samsung, for its part, they go on to say their second quarter earnings, not as great as they had expected, blaming it on the S10, saying people aren't buying the S10 anymore, even with the discounted price. Samsung saying instead their customers are gravitating towards A-series devices. Now, we checked out some A-series, didn't we, Will? Mm-hmm. What was it? The A50 or A70? I can't remember.
I think it was the A70.
A70, yeah.
Also A20.
Yeah, we were surprised. Huge battery in it.
Yeah.
We're like, this is pretty good right here. Mm-hmm. It wasn't too bad. And you started to wonder how you could recommend the flagship level stuff with what you're getting, what you're able to get in the value department at the lower price points. Like, look at that. That's the A70 right there. That's a pretty looking thing. Nothing wrong with that. You could live like that. Guy like you, mm-hmm. You just need something to hold.
Mm-hmm. Be holding this.
See what I'm saying?
Along with my love handles.
So maybe you don't need the screen wrapping around the edge. Maybe your life is fine like that, Will.
Yeah, with the teardrop, I'm okay with
Maybe you got the teardrop, you got the A70, and you got a few bucks in your pocket. Mm-hmm. And maybe you're having a time. You're out in the world with the few extra bucks, and you're having a time. Mm-hmm. You're having a milkshake and a cheeseburger. Guy like you.
Always.
Think about it. So anyway, they say S10 stagnant. They're not happy. Tim Cook says macroeconomic factors came into play, particularly in places like China. Yeah, there's a lot of factors, obviously, that came into play. But maybe it's my intuition just being in this thing, talking about this thing so much, looking at the astronomical number of phones that pop up, come across the table. I mean, Will, the boxes, they never stop. It's one after the other. There's so much selection now and so much value now that it's just becoming harder to justify the $1,000 thing. So no matter what they say, macro, China market, blah, 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 I talk to real people, talk to the humans of the world. They'll tell you the truth, they'll tell you the story. People ask me, what should I do? What's my next smartphone? I'm telling them more than ever, you don't need to go to the $1,000 price point more than ever. And I don't think I'm alone. It could be strictly intuition, anecdotal evidence, but everywhere I look, it's like the value conversation has overwhelmed the segment. We're talking about price now in a way that we never have before because two things happened in conjunction. The flagships got more expensive and the value ones got better. They happened at the same time, creating that that bigger gap. So we'll see what Apple does with this next budget version. But the glory days for the premium phone, the glory days for the $1,000 phone, the glory days for the flagship level, they might be gone.
So Apple, Samsung, Huawei, they're still going to be making $1,000 phones
Yeah, of course.
as their flagships. It's
I
not
mean,
gonna go
yeah,
any cheaper, is it?
Well, look, man. You look at a lineup. You go. You and I, we go to the car dealership. The number one selling car in that dealership is not the most expensive one, but they still make the most expensive one.
Yeah.
They put the badge on it. Typically, it's higher margin for them, and it acts as a billboard for the rest of the brand. They go like, "This is what we can do. This is our premium offering. We don't expect everyone to have one, but maybe if you're connected to the brand, then from an aspirational perspective, one day you look to get the premium model. But the vast majority of people are going to be okay.
You pick the Corolla.
The Corolla.
Yeah.
If you go to a Toyota dealer, it would be number one. Or if you go to Honda, you're going to get the Civic or whatever. There's going to be a model which represents the best value within the dealership. And that's going to move the most volume. And that's what we're seeing sort of happen in the smartphone marketplace as the number of options. Like there was a point in time where it was one iPhone. You could buy one iPhone. No Max, no 10R, no nothing. They just put out, here's the iPhone for this year or whatever it might be. Them having these multiple SKUs is an indication of how this is becoming more mature, like the car marketplace, in which there's so much selection now. It's not enough to have a one singular play. You got to have the multiple plays for the multiple different customers, or they're going to go somewhere else. If your dealership, if your brand doesn't have an option, a volume option, people are going to have to go elsewhere because that's what they're looking for, presumably. Now, in the car business, they go one step further. So Toyota, for example, then they'll have Lexus. They have a whole different sub-brand for the luxury stuff. And then that's even above whatever, I don't know what the most luxury Toyota is, probably the Avalon or something. Anyway, point being is you need, options are good, and the other manufacturers are presenting them. So there's really no choice for these other brands to do the same, even when they cannibalize their own premium sales, like seems to be happening. Samsung's willing to admit it with the A series. That like those might have been S10 buyers, but in all likelihood, if Samsung didn't offer them an A series option, they would have went to a different brand. That's the fear. So profit margins, operating margins have to take a hit as even the most loyal fans start to look towards the value point, and the value point shifts increasingly lower price-wise.